Hey guys, I'm posting this on YouTube because I just want people to know that God is real and Jesus is too. And the reason that God tells us not to worry, to let it be in His hands, God's hands, Jesus' hands, is because God has been through exactly what every single human has been through. When God was created, God wasn't created in the way that you think. God was just a spirit like any other. And when he understood that he could be aware of things around him just by observing, God was a spirit, okay? God was the spirit. And there were two forces that God was created from, that this God's spirit was created from. Okay? Now, these forces, they're literally just chaos and light. Whatever positivity is within light. God was created from both. And when God was created, he was like a child in spirit. He was observing how chaos and positivity acted in a way and had the power to do certain things, such as create and destroy. Now, God, like any other, discovered that he also has that same power within him. And at first, he abused the power and got extremely hurt and went through exactly every single test and every single situation that every single human being has been through. God has been through it in the beginning of his own life. And God literally just learned from his experiences, and after a while he learned to not abuse his power in such a way. He got more mature within his power, and after that he grew old, grew wise, grew more observant and more powerful over time, and he started to brighten up. Now, I believe that God is a heritage. God himself is a heritage, meaning God himself isn't just God, but an entire heritage, meaning there isn't just God, but there were gods before God, and the original God, something of the sort. But God, the devil doesn't want me to say things like this, because he knows it will reveal the truth of basically everything and help people see the light. But God basically was a human, and he created us with the same powers that he abused when he first learned about his power. And after a while, he got lonely within his abilities, and within himself he wanted to, like it says in the Bible, spread his love, spread the experiences he went through each and every human being. And he gave us life. He made Adam and he made Eve. But before he made Eve, he made Lilith. And Lilith, well, she was already aware. She was made aware of her own abilities, and as such, she wanted to be equal to the man, because God created man in his image. So Eve was created from man, and Lilith got jealous because God created someone who was equal to man in a way. And then Adam and Eve had 2 children. He had Abel and Cain. And the reason Abel died was because Cain decided to kill him because he felt like his sacrifice wasn't good enough. And that basically tells us that that's basically how God explained lust in a way. He explained that lust kills you, and that's literally how everything started. Okay? I don't know how to explain it. The people who understand the Bible get what I'm trying to say. And they also get that now I'm trying to explain the fact that basically God gives every single human being an experience of his own through our own lives that he gave us. And he only gives us a certain amount of experience that he went through, because within us all is him, is God, and we don't think about it. We don't care about it. But if we simply just thought about it, and more than just, oh, okay, I'm a creation of God, I'm made of light, it means I can do anything. No, you're not just made of light, you're made of light, positive things, and you're made of chaotic things. You were made in the image of God, which means because God is a being of chaos and light, positivity. God literally tells us this in the Bible. Okay, Bible literally stands for basic instructions before leaving Earth. Okay, and why they're basic instructions is because it's literally just explaining to us what we are and what we should be doing to understand the fact that God has been through what every single human being has already been through within his life. Because God isn't just God. Okay? God is everything. God is emotion. God is creation. God is chaos. God is a mindful being of spiritual presence. And we don't think about it in that way. We don't think that deeply. And some people do. They think immensely. But when you think about it deeply, when you observe your life and you think about things at an extremely deep level, because all you have is that thought, all you have is thoughts in your brain, you don't talk to anybody. Me personally, I've had friends in my life, okay, the things that I've been through, I I kind of feel like in a way, if I wasn't attacked my entire life, I'd have an extremely similar personality to Jesus. Not because I believe that I am Jesus, but because I know that Jesus wasn't a perfect being. He didn't live a perfect life. He did things that weren't perfect. Okay? But at the same time, he lived in positivity and in chaos, and he lived in the knowledge of knowing that he was made of positivity and chaos. And in that way, he understood that he doesn't need to let those things contradict who he is. Meaning, Jesus didn't really he didn't ignore the fact that he was made of chaos and positivity and light. Jesus knew that he was the Son of God. Why? Because he was sent. There's a freaking literally a video on here on YouTube that talks about how Jesus literally wasn't just okay. How a child is born, they get however many chromosomes from their mother and father. Jesus only had one of his father's chromosomes. And it wasn't like literally go on YouTube, look at the science of or the DNA of Jesus blood that they discovered or whatever on YouTube. But we literally, as humans, we ignore the fact that we are made of chaos and positivity, and we instinctually let the chaos take control when we shouldn't let the chaos take control in the way that we think. We should let positivity let the chaos know that, hey, you're there, but you cannot take control. You know, like, I can't explain it in a personal way, but I want to let people know that literally we are living in the end times. We probably, like, life was created more than 2,000 years ago for sure. Not 2,026 years ago. No. Life was literally created like a lifetime ago. 2,000 years, really? 2,000 years. Year 2026, really? 263 million years ago, there were dinosaurs. That's life. We have literally been on this earth as humans for more than 1,000,000 years. Okay? We have been on this earth for more than 1,000,000 years, and the government is lying to us because they want us to stay in the thought of it's just us and nothing else. They have literally lied to us our entire lives, and now they want to reveal the truth, so I'm revealing the truth for them. Okay, they're not going to reveal a lie, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to reveal a lie. They're going to reveal a false truth. Okay? And I'm putting this video out there for people to know that we are the truth. Humans are the literal truth. Humans are the example of what God went through when He was created. Because, yes, God was created by chaos and light. And once God understood that, He went through what He went through. He went through an entire, infinite playing field of years and God knows how long. Okay? I am 19 years old. My name is Nathan Wilson. Okay? I'm not famous, but I am. Okay? Because apparently, I'm the one human on this earth that actually got to know God while lust was attacking my entire life. Since my birth, I've been attacked. Since before my birth, I have been attacked. My mother was doing meth while I was being created. Okay? 6 months in, or maybe even before that, my mother was doing meth. Or maybe even the whole time she was doing meth. Okay? But I persevered. I went through the withdrawals, painful withdrawals that I could barely remember because of the pain. But I remember it. Okay? 2 years later, I was already getting extremely attacked by lust. I was sexually assaulted in the mouth at 2 years old by another child. Okay? And after that, when I turned 3, because this went on for a whole fucking year. For all I know, it went on for a whole fucking year. Excuse my language. God, please forgive me, and I know you do. Afterwards, I practically committed suicide by letting my 3-year-old self fall backwards off maybe a 5-foot wall, 5-foot cement wall. Okay? And there was a gate. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the details, but there was a gate on top of the wall that allowed you to walk across the wall and hold on to the gate. And there was a fall. I let go. I fell back. I flipped, I hit my head once on the wall, then I flipped again and hit my head on the concrete. I don't know how long I was out, but I was out, and I can't remember too much after that. Okay. I can remember moving around a little bit. The last thing I remember after that is waking up on the couch in my mother's apartment living room. And after that, I blacked out again. I can't remember anything after that because I was genuinely traumatized. I was traumatized to the core. Afterwards, because my mother was also a sex addict, she was sleeping with different men. She had my brother James with my stepdad, and then straight afterwards, she was cheating on my stepdad. That, like, I remember it. I remember my stepdad breaking through her bedroom door. And after that, I can't remember too much because I genuinely thought it was just a dream. I thought it was like some sort of nightmare. Then I woke up. I started observing my own life. Actually, the whole time I was observing. I then went to go live with my Aunt Carrie at 4 years old. Maybe 3.5. I don't know. But for all I know, I was an extremely, terribly sexually influenced child at the time, and I was a very big pervert. I'm not going to go into any other details, but I got put into the system because I had anger issues and was doing some pretty messed up things. And this was at 6 years old. I got put into the system in a group home. Literally, my first ever group home was in Compton, California at 6 years old. Okay, I got into fights. I argued with other kids. Okay, I felt neglected, even more than I ever had at birth. But I kept going and I keep going. Okay, I am 19 years old. I will be 20 in a few months. Back to when I was 5 years old before this. Because you know what? I forgot. But I'm gonna say it anyways because you know what? I'm not trying to forget major details in my life. I fell in love at 4 years old in third grade. Okay, the moment I heard her, even the moment I even heard her talk, like, she, I remember the first thing she ever asked me genuinely was, "What's your favorite color?" I said blue. Her name was Samantha. I said blue. Um, then a couple, maybe about a few weeks later, a week later, 2 weeks later, she came up to me. She asked me if I liked her. And in my heart, I was screaming out, "Yes, I love you." And my mouth said no. My brain said no through my mouth because I genuinely knew that I was most likely going to get even more hurt than I am right now. I saw a reality where she was with somebody. I literally, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I saw a reality where I did tell her yes. And we ended up, I guess, hanging out as children. And I guess I saw something else in that life where when I got to high school and she was at the same high school, she, she fell in love with someone else. And I was genuinely devastated. But I saw an entirely different reality. And I told myself, I'm not gonna let that happen to me. So my brain said no. Okay, fast forward to back when I was 7 years old. I was I left the group home in Compton, but at the same time I was still in the same group home, just in a different area. This area was Banning, California. I was moving back and forth between the big kid's house in Banning, California, and the little kid's house in Beaumont, California. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Then I went back to Banning because I was already around the age of like 9, and I was already doing super good in my behavior. Like, I was on level 3 and level 4 and just doing great, okay? But my family wasn't really doing anything to get me back. My mother wasn't doing anything to get me back. Fast forward, I get put in a different group home. I stay in the group home area in Banning still till I was maybe 12, 13. After that, barely before I turned 14, I got moved to another group home, the same group home again, in Temecula, for a year till I was 14 and maybe a quarter. I was put in a foster home with this guy named Jose Vasquez. Okay? I didn't do too good there. By the time I was 13, I had already started smoking weed. So, when I got there, I was like, huh. I started going to school, met some kids, smoked some vapes, thought, oh, this is good. I could feel it now, the pain in my freaking throat, as well as my lungs. I was smoking weed, wax, freaking wax pens, weed, freaking vapes, and I was genuinely just destroying myself. This entire time, though, Samantha was in the back of my mind. And yeah, I genuinely thought her name was Summers. Because all I could remember was seeing frickin' a project she did. Also, I genuinely thought I saw the future in that project. But it was her summer vacation project. And I was in tutoring at the time when I saw this. Um, but fast forward back to where I was at before I started talking about that. I was smoking weed, getting to know these people that I really shouldn't have known. But it was part of character development and part of God like showing me what he went through in a way. And so fast forward to when I'm 17. I was put in another group home because I decided to mess up being in the foster system, being in a foster house. Um, this group home again was very messed up. I got into fights, got water poured on me. Um, got freaking into a bunch of fights and was still smoking weed and wax and whatever. Then I got kicked out of that place, or sent out of that place. And into a emergency house. This emergency house was um, where I met a child who I had met from when I was living with my aunt. His name's Hunter. There are a lot of stuff, there's a lot of stuff that I'm leaving out of this story. Mainly because I don't want to remember these things, because I don't want to be that person. I never did want to be that person. Because these things I did, I hurt others' lives. Because I was hurting my entire life. I met him again. Apparently he went to juvie. I was still smoking wax, weed, whatever. Now, I hadn't done any other thing besides weed and wax, and nicotine, and cigarettes. But by the time I got out of that emergency place, I went to somewhere in Riverside, another group home or short-term residential treatment home. And this place I was still doing the stuff that I didn't want to do, mainly because I was trying to cope with trauma. I ended up doing something, a drug that I really didn't want to do. And let's just say it starts with an SH. But my life didn't stop there. It kept going. I got into fights basically my entire life. And I was learning to defend myself in a world that was generally becoming more and more corrupt. But that entire time, I had a really, really extremely good heart, and I was being positive. I was believing in God, talking to God every single time in my mind that I fell into temptation, that I fell into lust, that I fell into sexual immorality. Every time I was being attacked in this way, I would always get to know God. I would talk to God afterwards, mentally. I would just talk to God within myself, ask Him things that probably no other human would ever ask God. And it is sad, it is upsetting, it is depressing, but I'm here today. I woke up, I'd even wake up, I've been up all night. I've been playing Call of Duty freaking doing dumb stuff. I stopped smoking about a year ago, which I'd like to say that that's the truth, but it was only about till December of last year that I stopped smoking. Well, from December of last year that I stopped smoking. But at the same time, it wasn't just smoking. When I turned 13, I ended up smoking and drinking. And I got genuinely messed up. I'm still who I am today mainly because I talk to God. I spiritually talk to God. I'm spiritually aware. I'm aware of the things that people think aren't there. I literally get chills because the things that I talk to, they're actually there. They're spirits and souls of the ones I love, of the people I have met in my life. And yeah, there are some famous people, some famous souls that are around me today, that are around me right now. And I'm kind of sad at the fact who they are. Because they're both souls that have passed away and souls that I have never met. But I'd like to meet these people and just explain to them and support them and guide them to where I'd like them to be with me and my loved ones in heaven one day one day at a time, you know. I'm terrible at managing Monday. I'm terrible at managing money. Today's Wednesday. You know, if this goes viral, that'd be the last thing I expect. But at the same time, it'd be the first. You know? Things are cool. And you understand that it's really not just you when even you're alone, you know? When you're physically alone, you're not spiritually alone. Because there are people that have been in your lives that'll always stay in your life, regardless if they're not there at the time. Regardless if it's been 15 years since you met, been 16 years since you met, you broke that relationship you had with them, they're still there spiritually. Their spirits, their souls, they're still there with you, watching you grow. And I don't know how to explain anything further. But when I turned 18, December 2024, I remember Samantha texted me back. Now, by this time, she was in a relationship with someone, and she had been in this relationship for God knows how long. I don't know. That entire time, she was in the back of my head. From 4 years old, 4.5 years old to freaking 18 years old. She was in the back of my shit. She's still in the back of my head. She texted me back. I texted her. She said, "Who are you?" I said, if I could remember correctly, I said, "I'm someone who took you for granted at the age of 4 in 3rd grade." She said, "I don't remember you. Who are you?" Or something like that. "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Nathan Wilson, the man you asked if you liked. Or the boy you asked if I liked. The boy you asked if liked you. I'm tired, okay? I've been up all day yesterday and all day today. All night last night. Anyway, I just wanted to explain my story and how no matter what everybody is going through, just remember, God really did go through it first. If you genuinely think about it, if you think about it so genuinely and deeply, God did go through it first. And He's putting you what He went through to test you, to see if you'll really be willing to get to know Him and His Son. To see if you'll be a righteous person that spreads His light within the world. To see if you'll stand up against the evil that is corrupting our nations, our countries, our lives. May God bless every person who sees this video after I post this on YouTube. And may God understand you in every single way, because He knows who you are, regardless if His Son doesn't. In Yahweh's mighty name, I hope people take this message seriously, because if not, I'm sorry. Things might not go things might not be any better after I post this, but most we could do is just hope. Now, can't we? Good morning and good night. If I don't see you tomorrow, good afternoon.